Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. It's Colin, and today we're going to be reviewing the brand new Architects album, The Sky, the Earth, and All Between. All right, so this is the 11th full-length studio album from British metalcore giants, Architects, a band that I have had sort of a on and off again relationship over the years. I really loved some of their early stuff, specifically the Here and Now and Daybreaker. I guess not early, but like their like mid-career stuff, like late early 2010s. And then I kind of fell off of them for a little bit, and then I got back into them a few years ago with the release of their 2021 album, For Those That Wish to Exist. And from there, I kind of like decided to go back and listen to some of their early stuff, and was listening to their first two albums, Nightmares and Ruin, pretty regularly. And their sound has been pretty eclectic over the years. So they definitely started off in like a more sort of almost mathcore direction, definitely taken a lot of influence from bands like the Dillinger Escape Plan. And then they've kind of shifted their sound here and there over the years. They've done some post-hardcore. They've done some more just like melodic deathcore. They've done some more just straight up like alternative metal, some electronic core, some industrial. And I think to say that they like are really just a metalcore band at this point is not doing their entire discography justice, because they've definitely been all over the place. But I think consistently, like everything that they've put out has been pretty solid. Like I don't think that any of their releases could really be called bad. I do think that like maybe there's a couple albums here and there that didn't quite resonate with everybody. There's definitely a couple that didn't quite resonate with me. Like I absolutely love For Those Who Wish to Exist, but I know that there were some people in like their fan base that weren't absolutely crazy about it because it was more of like an alternative metal, almost like new metal direction, and they lost some of like the heaviness that I think people really came to appreciate for them. I will say on the last album, The Classic Symptoms of a Broken Spirit, I'd only listened to it like once or twice. I didn't get super into it. I think it was good, but for some reason, just like when it came out in 2022, it wasn't necessarily what I was like looking to listen to at that time. And I definitely think I need to go back and give it another shot. But on this new release, I think that they are back to just peak form. The Sky, the Earth, and All Between definitely delivers on a lot of fronts. It's super heavy at parts. They definitely still lead into the more sort of like melodic, almost like alternative metal that they were really kind of getting into in the last few albums. But there's some absolute brutality on this album. There's some like straight up hardcore leaning pieces that I think are just absolutely incredible. And yeah, I was pretty stoked just from my first listen. 3 listens in, and I can comfortably say it's going to be one of my favorite metal albums probably of the year. So with that being said, let's get into the track list. So the album starts off with Elegy, and I really like that they started with this song because the first good like minute, maybe like minute and 20 seconds or so is a pretty straightforward like melodic alternative metal, almost like Linkin Park kind of like lean in track. And I don't know if they did this intentionally to kind of throw off some of the people that thought they may have lost their edge in the last couple years, because like about a little bit before halfway through the song, it just absolutely hits just this brutal, fast-paced metalcore track. The breakdowns are insane, the fills are incredible, the blast beats, just like the tuning of the guitars, everything you could possibly want from a great like metalcore deathcore song is all right here. The screams are as good as I've ever heard on an Architects album, and this song just puts it right front and center right at the beginning. And again, I love that they kind of started the song off with a little bit more like softer, almost like, melodic alt metal before really getting into the heavy stuff. The breakdown here is incredible. I'm probably going to say that a couple times throughout this review because I do really love the breakdowns that they're achieving on this album. But yeah, overall, super, super great way to start off the album. From there, we get into Whiplash, which I think is like the only single I had heard off the album before the full release. To be honest, like I didn't, this album wasn't on my radar soon enough for me to like really kind of prep for it with listening to singles. And by the time like a month or two ago that I like knew it was coming out, I was like, yeah, I'll just wait for the album to release. But I did listen to this one ahead of time, and it's still an amazing song, just as good from what now from when I first listened to it. The intro to the song is very like hardcore coded. The vocals, the chorus is super bouncy. It definitely feels like you want to get up and move around. I love the drums here. The guitar work is incredible. It's heavy, but like not chaotic to a sense that like you feel like there's no skill involved with it. There's some good old classic metalcore oaths in it, and it's just like, man, it's a great track. Chorus kind of leans back into that sort of melodic alt metal style that you're going to hear a few times throughout the album, but it works super well. They even have like a borderline kind of like crunkcore bridge on this before it gets into one of the most just absolute brutal breakdowns you'll hear on the entire album. The drum work, again, absolutely incredible here, and just such a fun song. One that like immediately went on a few different playlists of mine. And then from there, we get into Black Hole, which has an absolutely filthy intro. Like just straight up fucking New York hardcore vibes right off the bat, where it leans back into the more kind of like standard melodic metalcore sound that they like have become known for. I will say the chorus here does feel a bit familiar, especially like all the three songs up to this point. It doesn't have much variety as far as like melody and tone in their chorus goes, but the blast beats here are incredible. Some like atmospheric guitar soloing kind of towards the end, and just overall an absolutely killer track. I love this song so much. Probably my favorite at this point of the three, and definitely some of the best like low screams, growls on the entire album. Again, I think the vocal performance on this album is just absolutely incredible. Then we get into Everything Ends, and Everything Ends is one of a couple more just like, I don't want to call them, mainstream or popcore, but like definitely more of the, I don't know, electronic, alternative metal, sort of like poppy hard rock vibes that you got on For Those That Wish to Exist, and definitely like a lot of other bands have been doing recently. It's good. It's giving me some like Linkin Park vibes, which is fair because they like are touring with them this year, I believe, on like the first leg of their tour. And I think it actually is still a better song than like most of the songs off the most recent Linkin Park album. But it's not a bad song. Again, I think it is very good, and it's a nice kind of like break after like the intensity and the heaviness of the previous three songs, but not overall like one of my absolute favorite songs on the album. But from there we get into Brain Dead, and Brain Dead once again starts off with a bang, just heavy, fast, hard hitting blast beats, intense guitar work, bass just going at like a million miles an hour. Again, that super like hardcore feel before it slides into a more sort of like classic metalcore vibe. It's a fairly short track, but I think that works in its favor. Absolutely nasty breakdown. The guitar just like rips through you on it. And yeah, super fun, like fast, short, upbeat, hardcore track. From there, we get into Evil Eyes. And again, I think that like, at least as far as parts of the instrumentation and parts of the vocals, they're really leaning heavier into more of like a hardcore sound than a metalcore sound, while still maintaining like some classic metalcore songwriting structure. And I think it works super well, especially on this song. The chorus is, again, fairly straightforward and familiar, definitely more pop leaning, but it weaves in and out of that and the brutality of like the verses and the breakdowns super well. There's some more like atmospheric guitar work towards the end as well that really just kind of brings the whole song together. And then after that is Landmines. And Landmines might be one of my favorite songs on the album. The chorus is like borderline pop punk. So they've got like this kind of pop punk melody to it, at least in like a couple spots, mixed with this more sort of like alt metal and then like metalcore instrumentation behind it. And it works super well. I think it's a really smart way to do this song. It breaks up the album a little bit, gives you something different without taking away from like the heaviness that you're really wanting from this Architects album. And yeah, I absolutely love this song. I think this song is the best example of like heaviness supporting a more like soft or like straightforward rock song as opposed to the other way around. Because I think there's a lot of bands out there that do like really heavy songs with some light melodic parts that kind of balance it out really well, but there's not enough bands that are really like doing the softer songs that are then accompanied by heavier parts, as well as they do on this song in particular. Don't get me wrong, there's like a brutal breakdown of a bridge near the end of it that is just absolutely insane. After that is Judgment Day featuring Almira Elfiki, who I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, not someone I'm super familiar with. She seems like kind of this new age of like harder pop rock, like what I'm calling popcore. It's almost sort of like the Spirit Box sound, or like some of the stuff off like Poppy's last album, which is not bad. I think they're, leaning into some of the stuff that like Bring Me the Horizon's been doing recently. And I think they do it well, that more sort of like electronic core tinge, like pop core stuff. Almost like not easy core, but like borderline pop music, which is like heavy breakdowns behind. And it works. I think it works well. It's not necessarily my favorite song on the album, but it's not a bad song by any means. But then from there, we get into Broken Mirror. And Broken Mirror might be my least favorite song on the album. It's, again, another sort of like alt metal track that's leaning into a very like emotional, sort of like, I don't want to say like soulful, but like you could tell that there's a lot of like personal feelings behind like the way that like the verses and the words here are sung. It's not bad. I just like the entire time I listened to it on all three of my listens, I kept getting this image of them like performing this song in like a rainstorm, which I think is like one of the most cheesy music video cliches you could do. I don't think they actually did that. I haven't watched a music video. I don't even know if there is a music video for this song in particular. But like the entire time I'm listening to it, I'm just like imagining them just like belting into a microphone with like rain pouring down. And it made me giggle. But again, not a bad song. It's just like a little bit too almost like try hard to be like emotional. And I don't know. I maybe I'm missing the point of it. And like I don't get super into the lyrics on my reviews, rarely like really mentioning them at all, but there's a couple of moments here and there that I did feel like some of the songwriting or lyrical content was a little cheesy on the song. But then we get into Curse, and that's right back into the pit, right back into moshing. Even the chorus here, which is a little bit softer, just still feels pretty heavy. Absolutely love this song. And the last three songs I think are all really solid. This is just like a classic metalcore banger. The contrast, or like the back and forth between like the high screams and the low growls, works super well here. And yeah, overall just a really solid like straight up classic metalcore jam. From there, we get into Seeing Red, which is hands down my favorite song on the album. The whole song kind of has almost like an electronic core feel. There's very like New Demons, Icy Stars elements to it, on how they're like mixing in some of the synths and breaks with the guitar work to get almost like a not necessarily dubstep vibe, but like kind of like that same effect of like abrupt stops and ends in the instrumentation. They have like almost like school children like playground chants going on in the background. The vocals here are incredible. Again, the screams are top notch. The chorus itself gives me like light Sum 41 vibes. Like I can see like Derek Whibley like singing this, which I absolutely love. But also still very much sounds like them. Like I think this is an incredible song. Hands down my favorite off the album. There's like at multiple points of the song, there's like this slide effect of them like sliding up the strings and the frets to accompany like the hard like guitar notes, and I think it just works super well. And of course the drums, like the entire album, are just absolutely stellar here. And then we get into Chandelier, and Chandelier I do really like. It's a bit of a softer song. It's got like a couple heavy moments towards the end of it, but it's very melodic, very atmospheric. And usually I do like when a band will end an album on kind of like a softer side, even if the album itself is fairly heavy. But for some reason, I felt like this belonged in the middle of the track list, and I would have preferred that they had just ended the album on Seeing Red, just like gone out with a bang. But that being said, I think it's still a good song, and I do understand why like they would put it here at the end. Like it does make sense in the grand like lineup of the songs on this album. So overall, I really enjoyed this album, more than honestly I thought I was going to, because again, while I've always really enjoyed Architects, like outside of a couple albums here and there, nothing's really like grabbed me and made me want to like just obsessively listen to over and over again. But this might just be that album. Like I love how well they're balancing like different elements of their career up until this point, while still delivering something that feels wholly new and fresh. There are a couple moments that feel a bit repetitive and a bit safe, but overall, I think it was a hell of a way to like cement themselves and remind everyone why they are regarded as one of the best in the scene. So with that, I'm feeling an A- on this. Again, I think there was a couple moments that could have been a little bit better, but overall, really, really enjoyed this one. So that's going to be it for me, guys. Please like, subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this album. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.